losses and trade lower as the tech sell-off deepens. The GIFT Nifty is also indicating a gap down start for our own markets. Oil prices gained marginally after a 4% slump the previous day as investors weighed concerns about global oversupply. Meanwhile, gold prices fall as the broader market sell-off follows the US government reopening. In key earnings, Tata Motors CV business reports a 6% revenue rise from the previous year, but market share losses continue, and the company also reported a net loss of 867 crore compared to a 500 crore profit last year. Meanwhile, Hero MotoCorp reports a 15.7% rise in its bottom line on a year-on-year basis. The revenues were up 16%. And the counting of votes for the Bihar elections begins at 8 a.m. today. Most exit polls gives NDA the slight edge. The state registered a historic voter turnout of 67.1% in the two-phased election for the 243-member assembly. It's the final trading day of the week, but not short of any action whatsoever. You're watching Power Breakfast right here on CNBC TV 18 in the Mumbai News Center. I am Hormas Fatakia. Let's first take a look at how the Asian markets have started off. And after a swath of green all through the week, it's a swath of red across the Asia Pacific, and all of the indices tracking the overnight losses on Wall Street are trading lower. The Hang Seng down almost 1.25%. The Taiwanese index too trading with losses of 1.5%. Losses also coming in from the Nikkei in Japan, which is down 1.5% as well. The Kospi, the outperformer of the year, is now the underperformer of the day today, 2.5% lower on the South Korean benchmark. So all the Asian indices currently trading with losses of anywhere between 1% to 2.5%. Pull up the GIFT Nifty. They'll give you an idea of how our own markets are likely to start off. Well, it's still a gap down compared to the earlier ticks of 130-point down tick. It's a marginal recovery, if you could call it that. It's a 105-point down tick nonetheless after all the cool off that we saw from the highs of the day in yesterday's trading session. But to set you up for today's trade, our research team is right here with the trade setup, the stocks that are likely to be in the news, and of course the setup on the FNO side of things as well. Firstly, Gaurav is here to get all the market cues we need to watch out for. Gaurav, good morning. What are you watching out for today?
Well, yes, yesterday when we look at Nifty tried to breach that 26,000 mark, but it did not do so. In fact, it gave up all the gains and it ended it with flat gains. When we look at today's setup, now today we are seeing some kind of activities happening around 25,800 puts and 26,000 calls. So these could be the levels for resistance and support. But apart from that, one key thing to watch out for is that today is the result of Bihar election. Now, as per exit polls, some of the exit polls said NDA is at a upper edge at a marginal level. So that is something that will define the market and the tone of the market today. Other than that, when we look at the corporate options, today is the record date for Infosys, record largest share buyback of 18,000 crores. We also have GSCL who has a record date of share buyback of worth 300 crores. And apart from that, Websol Energy System. Now, there will be a stock split in the ratio of 10:1. So let's watch out for these stocks. When we look at the IPO market, we are seeing some kind of action today as well. Tenago Clean Air. Today is the last day of subscription. Remember, the IPO has been subscribed more than 3 times. We've got Capillary Technologies who will come up with the IPO today worth more than 800 crores. And we will also be having Pine Labs getting listed. Remember, this IPO was also subscribed almost 2.5 times. Other than that, yesterday, when we look at the trading, Ashok Leyland, Muthoot Finance, Vedanta, Laurus Labs, all these players were at all-time high levels. So let's watch out for these also. Remember, Muthoot Finance also came up with good set of numbers. And lastly, when we look at the earnings calendar, today is the last working day of our earnings calendar. So we've got important results like Siemens, Glenmark Pharma, Exide Industries, Natco Pharma, Tata Motors Passenger Vehicle. Now, all these stocks will be in our radar today.
It's a long list. It's the final day of the earnings season, but a long list nonetheless. Gaurav, thank you for that. And to take you through that long list in greater detail, Winnie is here to tell us more on that. Winnie, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Urmas. It's Friday, but that list is just getting longer. Luckily, it's just the last day of earnings season today. So let's keep an eye out on Hero Motor first. Steady quarter that's coming in Q2 FY26. A profit growth of 16%, revenue growth of 16%, and double-digit volume growth. That is something that has overall aided the revenue growth for the company. Even when you look at the margins, they've come in at 15% versus 14.5% last year. Margins are at a multi-quarter high, this 15%. So keep an eye out on that. We're expecting some positive move maybe we could see here. Jubilant food, good quarter again coming in for the company. Good performance in terms of revenue, 20% growth there. Profits of the company, 54% growth there, and margins have remained stable at 20.3%. So keep an eye on that. NSEL again, NSDL, I beg your pardon. That's again a one that has reported a good set of numbers. Payments bank business, that's done well for the company. Overall profit growth of 23%, margin improvement that has come in as well. 32% is what the EBITDA margin has come in at, around 150 basis point improvement on a sequential basis, and revenue was up by around 28% on a sequential basis. Voltas has reported a weak set of numbers this time. When you look at it, revenue largely in line, but that major miss came in on the profit and the margin front. So margin at 3% versus 6.2%, profits just at a decline of 74% as well, and revenues fell by 10% versus expectation of 9%. This decline obviously was that EC segment, which has not done well. PNC Infra, what we're seeing coming in, that revenues are down by 21%. Profits of the company, yes, they're seeing an increase in terms of profit, but there's a one-time exceptional gain this time of 162 crores. The management has lowered the FY26 revenue guidance to 5%, so that is going to be a key factor, and we could expect red coming in here, and they expect EBITDA margins at 13% for FY26. Afcon's Infra, that also we're expecting red here on the screen today, because revenue is just a 1% growth, margins at 11% versus 11.6%, and they too have cut their revenue guidance for FY26 to 10% from previous 20 to 25%. GMR Airports, that we're expecting a good quarter that's coming from the company, so expect green here, 47% growth in terms of revenue. Margins have seen a sharp improvement as well, and the company has swinged into a profit this time versus a loss last year. Akums Drug, red expected here, weak set of numbers from the company, profits down by 38%, revenue seeing a decline of 1% as well, and margin contraction of around 200 basis point. Tega Industries, on the other hand, good set of numbers, a steady quarter come from the company, revenue seeing a 15% growth, mainly led by the equipment side of the business, that has seen a 56% growth, and they've maintained their margin guidance as well as a whole full year FY26 revenue growth, so could see green here.
Vinny, thank you for that update. Lastly, Sudarshan joins in with cues from the FNO space. Sudarshan, opportunities for both Bulls and the Bears yesterday, but what's the FNO data indicating?
So two big cues. Bihar election result will start getting the trends or say leads from 8 a.m. And on the global front, in the absence of any major cues after government shutdown was lifted, investors have taken profit out, like profit booking we have seen yesterday, and there was a big fall in the Wall Street. Now for today, following these global cues, GIFT Nifty is indicating a start with cuts of around 100 points. As of now, it's down almost 108 points. On the domestic front, the data has improved in the last few days. Look at the flows. In the cash market, FI sell figure was just rupees 400 crore, while DIs have bought more than rupees 3,000 crore. In the index futures too, FIs have turned buyers and they have bought more than rupees 450 crore. They have reduced long positions, but at the same time, they have also reduced short positions, and here reduction was more than 3,300 contracts. In the options data on the call side, 26,000 and 26,200 have seen maximum addition in the open interest. Also, premium has increased for both these options. And on the put side, we have seen 25,500 put that has seen maximum additions in the open interest. Support for Nifty, 25,750, very important level. Resistance remains around 26,000. Yesterday, we saw that Nifty crossed intraday 26,000 level, but we have to see that if comfortably Nifty breaches or crosses that level. For Nifty Bank, support 57,900. Resistance remains around record high of 58,600, and above that. In the band, sale remains in the band, and stocks amongst stocks that will be in focus, Muthoot Finance has come out with a very strong set of earnings, so keep an eye on that. And two stocks, Supreme Industry and Astral, might be in focus because government has withdrawn the export control order.
Sudarshan, thank you for that update. And now shifting focus to the highly awaited Bihar Assembly elections. The question everyone's asking is, will Nitish Kumar continue his winning streak, or Tejasvi Yadav would get the victory? Parikshit is now joining us to take us through all of that. Parikshit.
Out of 243 seats in Bihar, 122 is the magic number. At least 8 polls are giving the NDA a clear edge in this election. The News 18 mega exit poll is giving 140 to 150 seats to the NDA, 85 to 95 seats to the Mahagathbandhan. Prashant Kishore's Jan Suraj party is set to win 0 or maximum up to 5 seats. As per exit polls, the BJP will win 55 to 65 seats in both phases of the Bihar election, while the JDU will win 60 to 70 seats, making it the single largest party. In the Mahagathbandhan camp, the RJD is set to win 50 to 60 seats and the Congress only about 15 to 20 seats. While the NDA did not initially project Nitish Kumar as the chief ministerial candidate, Union Home Minister Amit Shah later said that there was no vacancy for the CM's post in Bihar. This means Nitish Kumar is likely to lead the government in case NDA wins again. In the 2020 Bihar election, the Tejasvi Yadav-led alliance fell short of a little over 12,000 votes when Nitish Kumar formed the government with a slim majority. This election campaign was marked by sharp personal attacks and polarized rhetoric. The NDA leaders invoked memories of Jungle Raj under Lalu Prasad Yadav and said that Tejasvi Yadav represented a return to that era. The BJP also alleged that Mahagathbandhan allies want to protect infiltrators. Meanwhile, the opposition targeted Nitish Kumar's health and claimed the BJP would replace him post-elections, as it did with Eknath Shinde in Maharashtra. The NDA has promised jobs to 1 crore people and has said that the government will set up factories in every district to strengthen local manufacturing. The Mahagathbandhan has promised 1 government job to every family in Bihar, 200 units of free electricity and a monthly unemployment allowance for graduates and postgraduates.
Parikshit, thank you for that detailed breakdown. Of course, counting of votes begins in just a few minutes from now. Take a short break, get you all the action from Wall Street on the other side. Welcome back. On to action from Wall Street. Indices there ended sharply lower following steep losses in other NVIDIA and other AI-related stocks. Even as the record US government shutdown came to an end, the investors turned cautious amidst lower expectations of a rate cut due to inflation worries. CNBC's Kate Rogers gets us a wrap of all the action on Wall Street.
Markets were down across the board today, with tech stocks showing some of the biggest losses. Investors also grew pessimistic about the interest rate outlook, even as the U.S. government reopens after a record-setting shutdown. The Dow down 798 points, the S&P 500 down 113, and the Nasdaq fell by 536 points. Foreclosure filings climbed again in October after sitting at historic lows in recent years, according to new data released Thursday. While the numbers are still small, the persistent rise in foreclosures may be a sign of cracks in the housing market. Florida, South Carolina, and Illinois led the nation in state foreclosure filings. And the IRS announcing new contribution limits for 401ks and other workplace retirement plans. Starting in 2026, employees can defer $24,500 into workplace plans. That's up from $23,500 in 2025. And one big change for workers over 50, those who make catch-up contributions will no longer be able to put that money in pre-tax. Those contributions will automatically go into an after-tax Roth account.
Kate Rogers, thank you for that update. Now, Fed officials cast a doubt over the rate cut in December, and the markets turned cautious as stocks took a hit while Treasury yields moved higher. Steve Leesman brings us a roundup of what the alternate inflation data suggests and where the Fed stands with regards to rate cuts.
It was CPI data in the United States, but because of the government shutdown, there was no data. But among the alternative data sets that Fed Chair Powell said he's looking at is one from State Street called State Street Price Stats. It scrapes millions of retail prices off the web and calculates a change. It has crept up slowly since the president put tariffs in place, gaining nearly a full percentage point since May and underscoring the caution of some Fed officials about cutting interest rates. The good news is it's been stable for about 2 months, but it doesn't measure services, which is an area of prime concern for the Fed. The data series tracks the BLS headline CPI number pretty closely, though it has run a little cooler than both since the pandemic. And Atlanta Fed President Raphael Bostic said he opposed a December rate cut in part because of survey data from businesses gathered by the Atlanta Fed showing they intend to boost prices. Bostic, who is not a voter, announced his retirement in February, said he also saw inflation spreading to core services. CNBC now counts about half of the voting members at the Fed as either outright against or cautious about a December rate cut. Boston Fed President Susan Collins joins Kansas City Fed President Jeff Schmidt, who is likely against a December cut, having dissented at the last meeting. Presidents Goolsbee and Musalem and Governors Jefferson and Cook have all suggested going slowly or being cautious about cutting rates. Meanwhile, Governors Myron, Bowman, and Waller, they all are presumed to favor a cut, perhaps along with New York Fed President John Williams, though he's less certain. Fed Chair Powell is also an unknown. Before Collins spoke, markets put a 64% probability on a December cut, but that has now fallen to around a coin toss, or 50%. There's still a 69% probability of a rate cut by January. It will likely take clear data on a weakening job market or stable or declining inflation to convince the hawks to cut in December, or an equally clear sign that inflation is headed to target.
Former Fed Chair Lael Brainard believes that the Fed should protect the labor market. Listen to what they said.
The hawks and the doves have both really hardened their positions since the last meeting. There are risks on both sides. From the tariffs, there are risks of inflation staying high. You know, it's already been 3% for the last few months, and it hasn't been at its target for nearly 4 years now. So that is why the hawks are quite concerned. On the other hand, the doves are concerned that the U.S. labor market was really softening quite substantially the last few payrolls prints before the government shutdown, and nothing that they've seen since then has allayed those fears. My own leaning would be to protect the labor market because the risks there, I think, are the more urgent risks, but I think reasonable people can disagree, and I think you could expect to see dissents either way the committee goes.
Lael Brainard also spoke about the U.S.-China trade ties. Listen.
In the first Trump administration, they really targeted their tariffs on China. They were really very focused on the bilateral relationship and regaining a level playing field with China. This time around, they have imposed tariffs across the board on all trade partners because they are now targeting a large amount of fiscal revenue. So it is a fiscal arithmetic, not a strategic calculus, that is driving their tariffs. And as a result, U.S. manufacturers and consumers are being hit, but also America's partners are being alienated at a time when America needs those partners to work with it to strengthen their hand relative to China in all of these sectors.
Take a short break. Cues from the commodities market on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Manisha Gupta now joins in with all the updates from the commodity space. Manisha, good morning. What's on your radar today?
Thank you for that, Hormuz. I'll start with the crude oil prices because after that very sharp decline that we saw a day before, the prices seems to be trading steady right now. But with the bearish Q, because the IEA says that the global demand is expected to increase by 0.7 million barrels per day in this year, but the supply could increase by 3.1 million barrels per day. That takes us to a global surplus of 2.4 million barrels in this year and nearly 4 million barrels per day in the next year as well. So most people believe that unless something changes drastically, we perhaps are looking at bearish crude prices going forward. But what has done well has been metals as a sector. So this week we're looking at gold prices heading for a 5% weekly gain. Silver is up 9% in this week. The U.S. government signing an opening for a U.S. government shutdown, the longest one, by the way, is what has led to slight profit taking in the Asian markets right now. And also because the treasury yields have continued to climb, also is weighing onto the markets. But apart from that, on a week-on-week, on a month-on-month basis, we still are trading in the positive for the gold and silver prices. Such has been the case for metals as well, where zinc is trading at January highs. We are looking at HRC steel prices at July 2025 highs. Tin is now trading at near 6-month highs as well. And so is the case with copper, which is trading at a 2-week highs. So across base metal prices, whether it is ferrous and non-ferrous, the markets are looking at strength continuing. The decline in US dollar index, individual supply concerns, expectation of strong demand going forward, all has been quite supportive.
Manisha, thank you for that update. Just before we take your leave on the show, the Asian markets continue to remain lower. There's no change in that aspect as of now. The Nikkei has just managed to increase its losses. The Kospi 2 down 2.5% as well. The Hang Seng Index is down 1%, so it's a marginal recovery from those lows. But the data coming out of China has been a disappointing one this time around. Industrial output down 4.9%, missing expectations, and the retail sales also missing expectations. Take your leave on this edition of Power Breakfast. From me and the team, thank you for watching. Bazar Morning Call on the other side.
Every morning, the countdown begins for the markets with meticulous research and analysis designed to help you capitalize on the trading day. Beaming live from the CNBC TV 18 Motilal Oswal studio.
Good morning, hello and welcome. You're with us on Bazaar Morning Call. We're coming to you as always from the CNBC TV 18 Motilal Oswal studios. What you are seeing are the election headquarters, and we're completely charged up here at CNBC TV 18 and throughout Network 18, getting you, of course, the biggest, the most comprehensive and the most incisive coverage throughout. We'll talk about this. Bihar obviously is, center stage. It's center mind. But there's a market to trade, and those global cues are looking a little wobbly this morning. Nigel, hi, morning.
Well, morning, and not a bad day actually to have a domestic cue, and hopefully it works out in favor of what the markets are expecting.
Yeah.
But otherwise, overnight, the global markets clearly got spooked. We've been talking about this. Is it in a bubble or not?
Yeah.
Yesterday were the first signs of, a sharp downtick. And actually, I think the Nasdaq in the last 6 trading sessions is down 5 out of the 6. So there is some kind of selling that's creeping in there. But to be fair, they've had a very, very big run.
No, absolutely. And so let's just quickly outline what cues we've got overnight. And as far as the global picture is concerned, those cues are not looking very, very promising. A sell-off, and a sell-off led entirely by technology, but it wasn't just limited to the technology space. And that's what changed overnight. The Dow, the S&P 500, the Russell 2000, none of the indices could be spared, so to speak. And it was tech names that were leading from the front. You had names like NVIDIA, Broadcom, all of them are falling between 3 to 4%. There's some murmur again about whether there will be an interest rate cut or not by the Federal Reserve in December. Also some chatter about how the Fed may still, or how the government may still take more time in releasing a lot of the crucial economic data, including the jobs report. Remember, we've not seen a jobs report for the last 2 months now. And one of the Fed governors made that point, or made a statement about how they don't see the need for an immediate December cut. So that spooked the market. Now, with valuations being where they are on the AI trade, you just need the smallest of triggers to get people running to the side. And that's exactly what transpired yesterday. This morning in Asia, we actually have an additional issue in the form of data that's come out of China. If you're talking about the industrial production number, or you're talking about the fixed asset formation numbers, most of those parameters for October are quite weak. In fact, fixed asset investment, which includes real estate, that's actually contracted 1.7%. Versus a decline of 0.5%. So it's not looking too great across, some of the regional markets as well. The implied open is on your screen. It's indicating the start is going to be probably about 95 points lower. The reason our screen right now, the GIFT Nifty and the implied open, is not reflecting a wider sell down is because of the local queue. The bets are that the NDA will manage to go ahead and emerge victorious in Bihar. That is what the bulk of the polls have been indicating. Now, the question is whether this is a done deal, because one of the polls, and that's the Axis poll, that was indicating that the margin is actually fairly narrow. So that's what we are going to be keeping a very close eye on. The counting is all set to begin, and I think some of the early trends will start emerging 9 o'clock onwards. But yes, there is a sell-off across Asia. Markets are down between 0.5% to about 1.5%. So there's a fair amount of caution. And remember, our market has run up. The Nifty has had a great streak so far this week. We're up about 2%. We've put on about 600 to 700 points from the lowest point of the current rally. So we'll see how this transpires. But Nigel, very interesting day lined up, given the global cues on one side and the big domestic cue on the other.
Well, that's right. The markets are working with the NDA coming on top, and then the focus shifts to the negotiations with President Trump, and then all the attention will move out there. So the bulls will be hoping that actually the outcome that they are factoring in, that actually works out. But in yesterday's trading session, we came off the top, and you'll be wondering what's happened. Were the FIs big sellers? No, that wasn't the case. Actually, the selling was only around 400 crores in yesterday's trading session. What played out in the final hour of trade yesterday was obviously the Sensex has their weekly expiry that played out. And besides that, there was big unwinding of positions. Whether you look at the Nifty,
You look at the Nifty Bank, there was a lot of unwinding of positions that we saw. Even if you look at what the FIs did in yesterday's trading session, there was unwinding of positions both on the index futures as well as on stock futures. So net in yesterday's trade, there was a lot of lightening of positions getting into a big event like the Bihar elections. And also overnight, the cues are fairly somber. So we did see a fair bit of unwinding. One cue was that, in yesterday's trading session, the futures did see a sharper pullback. The Nifty ended more or less flattish, but the futures actually were under some pressure because the premium did come down yesterday. There was some contraction that we saw in the premium from around the 110, 120 that came down to around 70 odd. So there was some unwinding, some mild shots as well getting into the system out there. But pulling up what the FIs did, unwinding of positions, index futures as well as stock futures. In percentage terms, the shorts are now at around 88%. So it's pretty much at the upper end of the range in percentage terms. In absolute terms, it's ballpark 1.6 lakh contracts or thereabouts. Moving to the options data, then, we had a couple of strikes that were fairly active in yesterday's trading session. And the 26,000 calls saw a good amount of open risk build up. And just when the bulls thought that they had that covered, well, we did slip from the top. So this becomes a crucial mark. Premium at around 100 rupees, 26,000 call, fair bit of open risk built up out there. The 25,500 put though, and the recent low, that gives the bulls hopes that, till that 25,300, 25,500 level does hold out, then they could believe that they could fight back, in the coming few trading sessions. So important support, 25,500. Very, very important. First reference point at around the 20 DMA, which is at around the 25,748, which we could visit in the first hour of trade itself. But there is a stiff resistance coming in at around that 26,100 odd mark. For the last few trading sessions, the Nifty Bank has been going to those fresh all-time highs and it's been selling. So this is the crucial, juncture that you're looking at in terms of a resistance level that we're looking at on the Nifty Bank. A stock that I'll be tracking is Glenmark. The stock is 18% off the recent peak that we saw in the middle of 2025. And from there, the stock has seen a decent correction. Now it's holding above the 20 DMA. It's in the middle of the 20 and the 50 DMA. Price action suggests that maybe, in fact, there is some kind of buying at lower levels. There was a fair bit of delivery-based buying, some open risk build up as well. So I'll keep an eye out on Glenmark, not just for today, but for coming few trading sessions as well, Surbhi.
Okay, all right. So let's get started. Nigel, then we've got our first guest joining us on the show. Stephen Englander, Managing Director, Global Head of G10 Forex Research, as well as North American Macro Strategy at Standard Chartered Bank is with us. Stephen, great to have you join in. And it's an interesting morning, right? Because suddenly the whole world is feeling the chills, so to speak. And it's all about AI and, whether this kind of pulls back stronger or not. But first on US macros themselves, as we start getting more data, finally now that the shutdown is over, are you expecting to see a steeper deceleration in the US economy? And particularly on the labor market side, what are your expectations?
Well, we'll be getting the September numbers next week. And it's possible, they'll be softish. I think that the Fed will really wait to see what the November numbers are saying, because September is pretty dated. We have a couple of ADPs since, we've had claims. It's history now. But I think that there's still room for more labor market weakness. It's getting tight. We still think that they're going to cut 25 because we think that the numbers will support it. But we're also not expecting to see much from the Fed next year. We think that once they're done with the next cut, they'll be pretty much done as far as cutting goes.
All right. Hi, Stephen. Good to see you, Ben. Give us a couple of other cues then in terms of, the movement of the dollar index. It was giving signs that it's going to be falling apart and moving maybe closer to a 95.5 handle odd. That's actually stabilized. What's the outlook out there? Because that's important from a flows perspective, particularly from an emerging market like India. Your view on the dollar index?
Sure. I mean, there's lots of things going on with the dollar. Some, long-term themes playing out in the course of one trading day. I think that, when it was selling off in the morning, it was sort of the AI sell-off and the angst about the U.S. economy. When yields started backing up as Fed speakers were more hawkish, the dollar had a real hard time selling off further and actually recovered some ground in the New York afternoon when those comments came out. And I think we're going to have a battle here. Ultimately, we're optimistic on the U.S. economy. We think productivity is going to pick up. We think profits are going to stay robust. And we think that will attract enough capital to the U.S., but we don't think it's going to be a straight line. We think, as we've been seeing in the last couple of weeks, there'll be ups and downs, but ultimately we see a stronger dollar. And thinking of the euro going down to say 112, certainly below 115 in the course of the next year.
Okay. Stephen, from everything that you're hearing around you, this whole talk of diversifying a bit away from the AI trade, right? And we've seen evidence of that. And when such diversification starts, it usually comes with a fair amount of volatility. So do you think, I mean, where do you see that money rotating? Do you see that going to US treasuries? Do you see that flowing overseas? Or maybe US equities? Any sense?
Well, I think that's up in the air. I think there's a lot of nervousness about AI and valuations. I think what investors would like to see is that some of the performance shifts to other sectors outside of the tech sector, to the tech using sectors. And that would probably be very positive, both for the dollar and for US equities. But I think right now they want to see a couple of more quarters of good productivity growth, good profits growth, until they buy into it.
All right, Stephen, final question before we let you go. What about an India-US trade deal? We thought we were going to be getting a favorable outcome. A lot of other nations have, but we are still waiting in the wings. What's your take with regard to Trump's trade tariffs? And do you think India is going to get a good deal?
I think there's desire on both sides to come to a deal. There are economic reasons, there are geopolitical reasons for there not to be a trade conflict between the U.S. and India. But again, the last 100 yards seems to be taking a long time. But ultimately, I think there will be some resolution.
Okay. All right, Stephen, we'll leave it on that note. Thank you very much for joining in. And we look forward to more conversations in the future. Thanks for being with us. Well, on that note, let's welcome in Prashant, who's made his way to the studio. Prashant, we missed you for a little bit. But I think we got the broad sense from Stephen on exactly this, like the overnight sell-off that we've seen on Wall Street, this whole AI trade. And there is nervousness around it. And people are constantly looking to take some money off the table. And I guess we saw that overnight.
Stay close to the door and try and run if there's problems. But yeah, Bihar is the big story, right?
Yeah.
And I think, I think leads are already starting to come in. So counting across, 46 odd polling stations has started. And that's the big one. And the counting began at 8 o'clock in the morning. Initial trends, and I think, by the way, we'll have initial trends by, 8:45, 9.
I think, yeah.
Right? And I think we'll have, within the first 2 hours or so, you'll start to get some sort of a picture in that sense. Remember, overall outcome is usually expected by early to mid-afternoon. I think about 11, 11:30, 12:30, I think we'll get a real picture of the outcome. And of course, I think we've been discussing about US equities, etc. It's not a green-looking screen. It's quite a red-looking screen, actually. So it's technology, which has been the pain point. NASDAQ 2.25% lower. And it's largely a valuation concerns and, this entire AI thing, as I think Surabhi and Nigel have been talking about. NVIDIA was down 4%. Reports earnings next week. Tesla was down 7%. Disney was down 8%. Macro markets 10-year yield went up 5 basis points. The dollar index was down a little bit, not very much. And basically, since we closed absolutely unchanged yesterday by the end of it, I think levels don't change very much. 26,100 eventually, 20 days moved up. So support now 25,748. 40 days has been actually unchanged after yesterday, 25,444. As I said, the levels are the same. Nifty Bank support 20-day, which is 57,918. That's very close. So maybe one more support level is the swing low in the month of November, which was 57,158 or so. So those are just some sort of, broad levels and numbers out there. But Bihar is the big story. So let's bring in Parikshit, who's now joining in with not the key trends, but I think at this point, 10 minutes into counting, 12 minutes into counting, just the lay of the land, the picture, and what are we really going to be watching out for? Parikshit, morning.
Well, it's a tough fight in Bihar, and most exit polls are giving the NDA an edge. Yes, early leads have started coming in. Those are paper ballots which are being counted. Last time around in 2020, we had seen the NDA securing 125 seats, the India Alliance 110. And in terms of the vote share, they were almost neck to neck. This time, the JDU this morning is saying that the results will be similar to 2010 assembly elections when the NDA had swept the election with 206 seats, the JDU 115, the BJP 91. Tejasvi has put up a tough fight with the Mahagathbandhan. Let's see if he can be lucky this time around. However, all exit polls saying it is NDA in the lead. Let's look at the early numbers coming in. Well, we're getting some leads for about 30 seats out of 243. 122 is the magic number. NDA has gains in about 16 seats. India Alliance 14. So these are very, very early numbers. This is set to change over the next 2 hours or so. I'll be watching out very closely also for how the Jan Suraj party of Prashant Kishore performs in this election. Many of the well-known pollsters in the country have said that he could win anything between 0 seats to 5 seats. And if he does well, then he could be a spoiler in this election. Tejasvi Yadav had a party meeting last evening. He met members of the Mahagathbandhan. It seems that the opposition is getting ready to target the government and the Election Commission. For example, the Aam Aadmi Party this morning has said that 80 lakh votes were stolen in this election. There were RJD leaders which were saying this morning that in case the counting is slow, then they will take matters into their own hands. So we're looking at a lot of drama in the Bihar election over the next couple of hours. But more or less all exit polls are saying that NDA is likely to do better than its 2020 tally. Let's see if the Nitish Kumar and Modi magic will work once again in Bihar, or whether the Tejasvi Yadav-led alliance will be able to make a dent in the BJP and JDU's winning streak.
Okay, indeed. So very interesting. Next couple of hours coming up. Pariksha, thanks very much, and we'll keep coming back to you to discuss how these leads and these trends shape up. Thank you for now. Well, some of the early leads are on your screens. 26 to the NDA and RJD at 15 right now. That's only 42 out of the 243 where the early trends have started coming through. So our eye on the screen as far as the battle for Bihar goes. Well, in the meantime, let's tell you what else we're covering on the show today. It's a packed market lineup. We'll have the management of Granules join in at around 8:35, talk about the company's second quarter performance. At 9 a.m., of course, we keep it with Bihar, and by then we'll have some more definitive leads. So we have our panel of experts joining in. Ninad Sheth will be with us to decode the numbers. At 9:20, Manishi Ray Chaudhary joins in. He's our market master of the day, gets some perspective on how things are placed. At 9:30, we get chatting with the management of LG Electronics. It's been a weak quarter for LG. We'll get to the bottom of it. After that, Samvardhana Motherson, that stock rallied yesterday as soon as numbers came out. So we'll find out what's gone into the solid second quarter performance and then the second half outlook. At 9:50, we continue our Bihar coverage. We'll have senior journalist Sanjeev Srivastava as well as Aditi Fadnis of Business Standard joining in to talk about the landscape. And towards the end of the show at 10:15, we'll have the management of PG Electroplast joining in with a quick business outlook. Okay, and on that note, we'll take a very quick break. Coming back on the other side with a list of top stocks to watch this Friday morning.
Welcome back. Well, you got what, the numbers coming in from the Bihar elections. I mean, initial trends, etc., right? I mean, that's a big one on your screen. Initial look-ins coming in on 67 out of 243 odd seats. This is, I mean, very, very initial kind of leads which are coming in, and these are not results. Well, our research team is standing by with a list of top stocks to watch out for the day. It's a long list of earnings reactions. Guys, morning. Sudarshan, Hero MotoCorp first.
Good morning, Prashant. So it's the election day result of Bihar election, and it's the important market of Hero MotoCorp. And company has come out with its Q2 earnings, and earnings have looked very strong. Margin has come in at a multi-quarter high of 15% after several quarters. This number company has reported. Revenue too has seen a healthy growth of almost 16%, and that was led by a sharp increase in the volumes that company has seen on a both sequential as well as year-on-year, and it has outperformed the peers as far as volumes are concerned. And in the festive season also, company is saying since Onam, it has gained the market share of almost 40 basis points. And as far as the increase in the volumes is concerned, it has outperformed the industry. Its volumes have seen a growth of almost 15%. So for today, I'm going with green.
Okay, all right. Thanks a lot for that, Sid. Going with green on that one. But let's hop across to Upasana. Upasana, LG Electronics, lot of interest, blockbuster listing, numbers a little subdued.
Good morning. Certainly, numbers are subdued. It's been a weak quarter for the company, and the company's growth momentum has also slowed down. If you look at the revenue, it has seen a flat growth on Q2 and H1 FY26. Now, overall, if we look at the margins, the EBITDA margin is under pressure, down about 350 basis points at 8.9%. Mind you that the margin is under pressure for both the company's key segment. Now, coming to the company's key segment, that is home appliances and air solutions, which form 64% of the company's mix, it saw a muted performance, which dragged the overall performance of the company with a flat revenue and EBITDA margin downtick of nearly about 400 basis points. Company's second segment, that is home entertainment, which forms 36% of the mix. The revenue here just saw an uptick of 3%, and margins also under pressure, down about 180 basis points. Now, coming to the numbers on an overall basis, consolidated numbers, revenue stood at 6,174 crore with a uptick of 1%, EBITDA down 28%, EBITDA margin 8.9% with a downtick of 350 basis points, and PAT stood at 389 crore with a downtick of 27%. So overall, weak results.
Okay, and of course, we'll be speaking with the management as well to try and understand what was this. Was this some deferment of demand up to the festive season and the GST cards? Was there more to it? So conversation with LG coming up at around 9:30 today. But let's get back to Sudarshan. Sudarshan, Tata Motors CV business, how are the numbers?
So it's the first result after the demerger was announced and got effective on October 1st. Results are not that bad. Revenue has improved by almost 7% in line with the industry growth, when margin has improved by more than 150 basis points. It has come at 12.2% versus 10.7%. But two important metrics that we track in the auto sector, those two are realization and the market share. So here, realization has come down by 5%, and company continues to lose the market share. If you remember, Ashok Leyland had said that it had gained market share. So which company has lost the market share? That is Tata Motors commercial vehicle. Its domestic market share has fallen to 34.6% against 36% that company had in the last quarter. So just on the basis of fall in the market share and the drop in the realization, I'm going with minor red because earnings are not that bad.
All right, so thanks very much for that. Muthoot Finance is the next one we want to focus on, and Gaurav has got details. Gaurav, morning.
Well, yes, when we look at the numbers were great for Muthoot Finance. When we look at AUM growth, that increased almost by 47%, but the real magic is in the profit. Now, net interest income that increased almost by 58%, PPOP increased by 70%, and profit increased almost by 87% on a year-on-year basis. Now, there was a cushion of around 300 crores in this quarter as well, because NPAs reduced, and that is the reason why net interest income that increased. And at the same time, net interest margins, they also expanded almost by 50 basis points. But from here on, what is another key thing to highlight is that they have increased their AUM growth guidance from 15% earlier to 30 to 35%. So that's a sharp uptick. That means that management still sees this momentum to continue. And at the same time, the yields, now they expect yields to remain somewhere in the range of 18 to 18.5% versus what we have seen at around 20%, because this cushion that we saw in this quarter of around 300 crores, that is not something which will be recurring or something which will definitely come. So that is something that they had to say. But all in all, very great set of numbers from Muthoot Finance. And as a result, brokerages also gave a green sign in the trade today.
Okay, all right. Good to hear, Gaurav, and we'll speak to the management later. And Niharika is saying, don't just look at the gold finance companies. Where's the gold? All the best, Gaurav, as you get into the final leg. Next month, you and Niharika tie the knot. Our best wishes. So, all the best on that front.
Thank you so much.
Well, let's move across to Upasana. She's here to tell us about Bharat Dynamics. Upasana?
Well, overall, it was a good quarter for the company. The it beats estimates on the major parameters, but margins take a hit. Revenue more than doubled on a YoY basis to 1,147 crore versus the estimate of 27% growth. EBITDA expands 90% versus the estimate of 32% growth, but margins decline 179 basis points due to higher material cost and even finance cost. Now, when we look at the other expenses, they also see a jump of about 82%. But despite that, net profit is up 76%, which was aided mainly by the higher other income. Now, company has also signed a contract worth 2,000 crore with Ministry of Defence for supply of Invar anti-tank missiles for the Indian Army. So overall, we are seeing a good set of numbers from Bharat Dynamics.
All right, well, thank you very much, Upasana, for that. Apollo Tyres is the next one. So back to Sud with that. Sud, take it away.
So it was an inline to slight beat as far as Apollo Tyres are concerned, and the reason is commodity costs were benign. Both crude and rubber prices had fallen both on a sequential basis as well as year-on-year. So margin has improved to 14.9%, and the earnings overall were lifted by Asia Pacific region, where we have seen the margin improving to 10.9% against 7.6%, while Europe, which is not the biggest contributor, there we have seen margin dropping to 4.4% from 5.9%. So on the back of the improvement in the Asia region, we are going with green for Apollo Tyres.
Okay, all right, sir. Thanks for that. Go hop across to Mangalam. Vishal Mega Marts on your radar.
Good performance coming in from Vishal Mega Mart. You have an SSSG of 11.3%. At the same time, the revenues grew by about 22%. They added a fair number of stores as well. EBITDA, because of operating leverage, up 30.5%. And the net profit on that is up 46%. The company has added 25 net stores in the second quarter, and their own brands, which is the mainstay of Vishal Mega Marts when it comes to the numbers, etc., that accounts for nearly 3/4 of their sales. So 75% of the sales coming in from their own brands. That does well. See the stock in the green, but the only fly in the ointment could be there could be a supply event where the private equity may want to offload some stakes. So we'll keep an eye out on whether that block is on offer or not. But for these numbers, the stock likely to be in the green.
Okay, Vishal Mega Mart. So looks like a good quarter. Let's hop across to Vinny now. Vinny, GMR Airports, numbers looking good?
Yes, numbers looking very good because, this is the first time they've come PBT positive, profit before tax positive in more than 3 years. Now, looking at the numbers, revenue growth of around 47%. EBITDA margin also seen an expansion coming in, 41.7% versus 38.5%. So improvement there as well. And company has reported a profit of 35 crores this time. Now, obviously, Q2 overall, there was an improvement that came in aero revenues as well. And that was mainly led by the improvement that they saw 166% on a year-on-year basis due to the tariff hikes that one saw at the Delhi airport, and that is the main reason about the business and aero business doing quite well. Positive impact obviously of these Delhi authority tariff hikes, scaling up of non-aero units, and overall growing the adjacency side of the businesses at the airports is something that has done well for GMR Airports. Jeffries also has given the numbers in Q2 FY26 a thumbs up, so we're expecting green.
Thanks a lot for that, Vinny. Hopping across to Mangalam, not asking you for a pizza because you never give it Mangalam, but tell us how are Jubilant Foodworks numbers?
That's life, Nigel. You sip on green tea and speak about pizza. So good numbers coming in from Jubilant Foodworks. Why do I say that? On a consolidated basis, near 20% revenue growth, which is a far outperformance as compared to all the other peers that have reported numbers so far. And that's percolated to the EBITDA as well. EBITDA margins at 20.3%, holding steady. And the net profit has seen a 50% jump. Why is that? Because the finance cost came down from 138 crores to about 105 crores. The important numbers for them would be the India numbers. That too has seen a growth of almost 15-16%. Like-for-like growth in Domino's is around 9.1%. So the fourth straight quarter of good performance coming in terms of like-for-like, and that's been led by delivery. Delivery is up around 16.5% in terms of like-for-like sales, and the company has taken heart from that. They've added 81 new Domino's stores, and for those who love chicken, Popeye's chicken also has actually done strong double-digit SSSG, so that's doing well for them.
Okay, Manglam.
All right. No, Manglam did get us pizzas once, remember? It was, but we can do with more.
I can't remember.
Okay, you can't remember.
It was the editors round table.
Yeah. You get the hint.
You can make that face, Nigel. In the evening, maybe, perhaps.
Oh, okay, guys.
Children's Day, Manglam, we look to celebrate. We are still all children and wishing everyone a very, very happy Children's Day. And we're going to celebrate here at CNBC TV 18 with Manglam treating us to a few pizzas.
When we were children, Nigel, parents didn't give us a lot of pizza. So
Okay, guys, time out. Calling time out on this one. There's going to be a large block in Sagility. That's the expectation. And some of the promoter entities could be actually selling out. Nimesh is here with more on this. Nimesh, morning.
Hi, morning, sir. So yes, you're right. Going to expect a large block in Sagility today. The promoter entity is looking to sell up to 16.4% stake via block deal. I understand the demand is strong, so entire block, including the green shoe, which means the entire 16.4% will get sold. The indicative floor price is around 46.5, so a nearly 10% discount to yesterday's closing price. But there is a 6-month lockup now, so no further sell can come from Sagility. Remember, the promoters a couple of months back sold via OFS at 38, and now the next block is coming out to 46, 47. So a big selling has happened. Now there will be a cool off for 6 months. But I understand there is a strong demand. So the stock will open in the red for sure because there is a discount. Need to see how the demand pans out and might recover as well. But to start with, expect a red take with 16.4% getting sold in Sagility today.
Okay, so Sagility definitely on our radar. Thank you for that, Nimesh. Let's quickly recap our list of stocks to watch. The ones that have positive news flow around them are Hero MotoCorp, Muthoot Finance, GMR Airports, Vishal Mega Marts, Bharat Dynamics, Jubilant Food and Apollo Tyres. The ones with negative news flow around them would be LG Electronics, Tata Motors CV and Sagility. Okay, we've got a bunch of other earnings as well. So Vinny is going to highlight some of the major ones we should watch out for. Vinny.
Hi, so let's start with NSDL. We're expecting green here. Good set of numbers that's coming from the company. 28% revenue growth, 100 basis point expansion in terms of margins, net profit up by 23%. That's a strong business growth that one has seen coming in, or revenue growth that is mainly led by the payments business, bank business growth. That's all 33% growth on a quarter-on-quarter basis. All these numbers that I spoke about right now are on a sequential basis. So good growth on a sequential basis. NSDL expected to be in the green. Tega Industries, that's another one that we'll keep an eye out on. Good numbers again that's coming from the company. A steady quarter, 15% growth in terms of revenue. Mainly this growth in revenue was led by the equipment side of the business for the company. So keep an eye out on that. Margins have seen a very strong expansion, 17% versus 9.7% last year. Net profits also more than 500% growth on a year-on-year basis. And management has reiterated their statement in terms of FY26 guidance for 15% overall revenue growth and the margins for each individual sector. They have reiterated the statement there. So no worry on that front. Now let's move on and talk about Voltas. We're expecting red on the screen for this one. Weak numbers that's come in, and obviously it's been a seasonally weak quarter for most of these companies on the consumer durable side. So revenue is down by 10%. Mainly, obviously, this decline is led by the UCP segment. That's the AC side of the segment. That's seen a decline of 23%, and that segment has reported a PBIT loss as well. So that's a big concern, and that's why the margins also overall clearly are under pressure, 3% versus 6.2%. Lastly, PG Electroplas, red expected here as well. Consolidated revenues, that's seen a decline of 2%. EBITDA margins 4.6% versus 8.4%. And obviously here also the RAC segment or the AC segment that we talk about, that's seen a major decline and sharp decline. And washing machine segment, that's managed to see some growth of 55%. But the main segment, that's the AC segment, that's seen a decline. So red here.
But more green than red, right, Vinny? And actually across what I'm hearing so far from our research team, across the board, strong beat, more of those as opposed to, misses.
Yeah.
And I think that's been the story across most results season. We'll have to sort of collate, of course, all the numbers as we wind down this one. Vinny, thanks very much for that. Manisha is here with a quick roundup of all the action from the commodity space. Manisha, good morning. What's on your list?
Thank you for that, Prashant. Well, almost everything in case of commodities seems to be rising up right now. Remember, it is a soft US dollar that has supported buying. And then the markets are also very uncertain on what the new US government data could be after some agencies were unable to collect data during the shutdown. So there's a lot of uncertainty on what numbers we may not entirely see. Having said that, gold is up 5% for this week. We've seen silver prices gain up by 9% on the week as well. And the crude oil prices, after falling 4% the previous day, are trading 2% on the higher side right now. That exactly is the case with base metals also, whether it is tin, copper, zinc, aluminum, everything is up anywhere between 1 to 2% right now. So across board, all commodities trading in the green.
Okay. All right, Manisha, thank you very much. So that's the commodity landscape for now. We'll take a quick break on that note. Coming up on the other side, we continue our conversation with the corporates, and the management of Granules is going to be discussing their Q2 numbers.
Welcome back and hope you're having a good morning. Well, Granules India, that's the first management on the show. The company actually reported a good set of numbers. The growth mainly was due to the formulations in North America as well as in Europe. We're now joined by Mr. Krishna Prasad Chugurupati, the chairman and managing director. Hi, sir. Good morning. Always good to see you in, sir. A couple of quick questions first. In the first quarter, I recall when we had a chat with the management, you all had indicated there were some constraints, capacity constraints. Has all of that been ironed out in quarter two? And from here on, things have returned back to normalcy? And also on margins. Are margins on an improvement trajectory? If you could give us a margin band. Please go ahead.
Good morning.
Morning.
Since we last spoke, Q2, the growth was driven mostly by the manufacturing in our US facility. The constraints in manufacturing in India still continue at our Gagillapur formulation facility. However, we had approval, the US FDA has approved our new facility at Genome Valley, the JLS facility, and that would take away most of the constraints in manufacturing. And I see Q3, at least the rest of Q3 and Q4, that the constraints in manufacturing will be over, and we should continue the growth trajectory.
Okay. All right. So for the first half of the year, you've done close to around 16-17% of revenue growth with margins at around 21% odd. Could you give us numbers? I think you were guiding for mid-teens earlier in terms of growth. So do you stick by that and margin band?
Yeah, I always stick to that. I think definitely we will have some growth, and definitely with the new capacity coming in at GLS, we are quite confident that we'll have a much better quarters going on.
Mid-teens growth, right? Revenue growth?
Yeah, I don't think I should exactly be guiding you, but yeah, I'm very confident and optimistic.
I think the street is working with 13 to 15%, so that's good, right?
That's okay. Let's look at that.
All right. You briefly mentioned the Gagillapur facility. Could you give us what is the status update on that front? Earlier, I think we were talking about things gradually start clearing out from December onwards. Where is it at, and how do you expect things to progress?
We did comply with all the requirements of what the FDA has asked us, and we have reported back to the FDA saying that we are ready. We asked for a meeting or a re-inspection, and they have given us a meeting in January of 26. A little disappointing, it's stretched, but there's nothing else we can do. We look forward to having that meeting, and then we have to see when they're going to, what their next steps will be. But however, we are not constrained by great manufacturing today because of the new facility. But once we get the warning letter lifted, we have some new approvals that are pending, and those approvals should again drive up the growth of the whole company.
So if this meeting is in January, sir, good morning. What is the, what do you do from that facility, and it's not holding you back, but once, say, for example, remediation happens there, what will it allow you to do?
Look, production is continuing today. We don't have any constraints on regular production, except for some of the things that the FDA wanted us to do, like cleaning. There was a constraint in capacity. So that would be gone, number one. And other thing is the new approvals, products that are pending, will drive a good amount of growth.
A lot of filings from that facility, sir?
Sorry?
There are lots of filings from that facility, which
there
perhaps...
are about 3 to 4 pending already, which have been filed, and everything is cleared. We're waiting for the lifting of the warning letter.
Okay. Could you give us a margin profile as well for the year ahead? If 27 is going to be a growth year, what will margins look like?
Margins will definitely be at the same level, if not improve. We are positive on margins, and with extra capacity and taking care of overheads, the margin should definitely improve.
Okay, all right. What about the debt number, sir? I think it's more or less constant, gone up a little bit.
It has gone up a little bit because of the Sun Chemicals acquisition. But as we go by, that should be slowly coming down.
All right. So by the end of this year, what should the debt look like? Or let's talk about FY27. If it has to come down, what level does it come down to?
Maybe it should be coming down by at least 10 to 15%.
And currently it's around 1,050 crores.
That's right.
So it comes down to ballpark close to around 900 to 950 crores by FY27 end, right? Not 26.
That's right. That's right. Because we also have a lot of capex going on. Otherwise, it would have been a much better number.
Got it. All right. And I've just looked at your numbers. I think your gross margin as well has expanded quite well. Operational efficiency and better product mix have worked in your favor. Well, appreciate you joining in, sir. Wishing you all the best for the quarter 3. And hopefully, I think in quarter 4, you'll see that Gagillapur unit that sees an all clear. Thanks a lot for joining in. Wishing you a good day ahead. Take a short break. Come back. We'll discuss a lot of stocks. Siddharth Khemka of Motilal Oswal is waiting for us.
Okay, those are more trends. 105, those are the leads for NDA, 58 for the RJD. So this is just the first. We're at 8:45 now, and this is the first, less than 1 hour of counting. So let's see. That's what we have, 105 for the NDA for the time being. Okay, let's welcome in Siddharth Khemka into the conversation this Friday morning. Siddharth, great to have you in. We'll talk Bihar and politics and all of that in a bit. But I want to first start with earnings. And the one number that really caught my eye yesterday was Bharat Dynamics. It was a dynamite of a performance, just the way, because with all these companies, these defense companies, the order book is never a problem. And Bharat Dynamics is right at the forefront of almost every single missile program in this country, right? It's always about the pace of execution, margins, etc. What do you think of this one?
Good morning. Yes, I think such a lovely day to start the day. A lot of earnings last few days and superb execution by Bharat Dynamics. I think, as you rightly said, especially in the defense segment, the order book is not a concern. What is of concern is the supply chain, is the entire chain of the suppliers also working in tandem. So I think that easing of supply chain issues that resulted in sharp execution ramp up. So I think that has been a pretty good point for Bharat Dynamics. Some margins were affected because of the project mix change during the quarter, but again, good order inflows from Invar anti-tank missiles. Middle is also expected to benefit from the emergency procurement of the QRSRM, which is the surface-to-air missiles. Plus the follow-on orders from HAL and all. So order book continues to do well. Execution now picking up, supply chain easing out. We believe that the growth will now pick up. So we are forecasting a revenue growth of 35%, margins easing off, leading to a 51% PAT CAGR over the next 2-3 years. Stock definitely trades at a PE of 40 times, but with a 50% earnings growth, we believe less than one peg, there is definitely a lot of room for upside given the current global geopolitical environment, a lot of demands, and especially Bharat Dynamics leadership and strong presence in the missile segment, which is a key for India's defense. So we have a very positive view on Bharat
Dynamics. I just want to add here for the benefit of our viewers, aside of the earnings, which are like rock solid, they've also announced another order win, and it's a big one, 2,000 crore rupee order for the Invar anti-tank missiles. So one stock perhaps to keep in mind, folks.
Well, I think lots of stuff, right? Lots and lots of earnings in that sense. And of course, how can we not have secondary market action, which is, listing of Pine Labs is also today. So that is something which we will track as we go on as well. Just if you will, Siddharth, come in on some of the other earnings which have been coming through. Muthoot Finance is something we can talk about, right? All-time highs. Stock's been consolidating last 3 months, but phenomenal numbers. And I was looking at the Morgan note this morning. They're using superlative terms to describe the numbers. Rare, beat, XYZ. Perhaps one of the big ones. What do you make of it?
Definitely, Prashant. Good morning. I think stellar number that we have also used, stellar revenue growth, especially in the gold loans, and we have seen margin expansion that has also lifted earnings. So continues to report strong growth, definitely aided by the sharp bump up in the gold prices, and the management has raised the gold loan guidance from about 15% to now 30 to 35%. That's a huge bump up in the guidance and the growth. What we are forecasting, we are projecting a growth of almost 40%. So even higher than what the management is doing. So pretty strong growth, margins pretty strong, market leader. I think one space in NBFCs which continues to show consistent growth, and even I think the macros are helping. So sector tailwinds are in favor. Valuations, if you look at price to book, I think they will trade at a premium valuation. But I think with the growth, one can definitely justify. We have seen the kind of ROEs, 5 to 6% ROEs, almost ROEs of 26% next year. I think the price to book of about the 3 times, 4 times, I think is justified. One can also look at a PE ratio with this kind of high growth, the EPS growth of this year is of about 66%. PE is of just about 15, 16 times on a one-year forward basis. So I think definitely a lot of room for upside in Muthoot Finance, even at current levels.
Okay, so that get ready, strap up. I need to do an IPO rapid fire with you because it's like such a hot market, right? So very quickly, Lenskart, 400 is the price.
It's a long-term bet. I would still wait for a few quarters of delivery and then take a call.
Okay, what about Grow? It's growing towards that milestone of 1 lakh crore rupees in market capitalization. Has had a phenomenal last couple of days.
So we were the investment bankers for the IPO. We are very positive on the entire capital market theme. So in a way, positive on the space sector.
Okay, and Pine Labs. Again, the question is going to be about pricing. They've just turned profit-making. Pine Labs, okay, we've got the numbers as well. So the good thing is that at least in the first quarter, this company is now profit-making. It has great pedigree. It's got the who's who of the private equity world backing it. But yeah, I mean, the business model, margin, sustainability, and the price at which this is coming.
So positive view on Pine Labs, we believe the fintech space is doing well. They have created their niche. They have a global presence as well. And pretty good, decent business model financials. I think valuations are comfortable if one can hold for the next few years. This is a space which will do very well.
Sticking with that recent listings, new IPOs, etc., LG Electronics reported numbers. A lot of people were, and they left value on the table in that sense. What do you make of it at these levels? Not done very well since listing, though.
So yeah, Prashant, I think if you look at the entire consumer durables, especially the AT sector, that's not done that well post-monsoon. Things were expected to be better. Even the GST rate cut was supposed to help them. But across the space, be it Voltas, LG Electronics, Amber, we are not seeing the kind of numbers. And big disappointment, especially in the form of the margins, that has contracted operating margins by 350 basis points. That is a big disappointment. But I think what works in favor of LG is the market share gains that they are doing across segments. Revenue has been in line, but again, that margins and EBITDA decline of about 28% YoY, that is a big disappointment. I think post-listing now, the stock will consolidate. The discount to the other peers, which you were talking about, that was left on the table at the time of IPO, that has narrowed down. And for here, the stock to move on further, I think the growth in the sector needs to come back now.
This is the NDA. The numbers are on your screen, right? NDA leads hit halfway mark of 122. So that's what's coming through at this point in time. So I want to make a quick mention of it. Our network has got the fastest leads coming through. People at the booths, the counting centers, and this is directly information from the ground. But these are still leads, remember, and not slowly, actually, pretty fast from here on. We'll have firm results coming in, along with leads, and more of those leads converting into firm results. But this is the headline. NDA leads hit halfway mark of 122. Let's just quickly look at the GIFT Nifty. I think it was down about 100 plus points. And we should be able to quickly tell you if that is starting to move as well. We are about 3 minutes away from the pre-open. I think losses have been, cut in half, Surabhi? We were down 120, 130. Yeah. We're down about 70 points. Markets will take note as we get a firmer handle on things, which should be pretty soon. But leads cross the halfway mark in Bihar for NDA.
Absolutely. And, again, given the global backdrop and the sell-off we're seeing in global equities, this is not bad at all because we started first with a 100-point dip. Now it's been reduced. I just want to make one more point. If we can maybe get the breakup as well. The breakup is very interesting. Within the NDA, now those leads are at 124. Now, going by the leads, the BJP is down 9 from 2020. And the JDU is getting a resounding sort of, thump up, so to speak. 18 more than last time. At least that's what the early leads seem to be indicating. So if this is how it really plays out, then obviously, it's a no-brainer. Mr. Nitish Kumar is definitely not looking at any anti-incumbency. But again, these are leads. It's very early. It's just about 9 o'clock. So we need to sort of tread with a bit of caution over here. Let's take a break on that note. In fact, we'll stay full throttle with the Bihar elections and what this means, what it means for the market, what it means for, policy making, if it's going to be just limited to Bihar, if there's any impact on the center. That discussion coming up right after the break. And then, of course, we have our technical experts joining in with the trading calls for the day.
Okay, well, as we've been telling you, it's not just the three of us. How many of us are on screen right now? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Huh?
It's a political theatre.
Well, I think the tally is showing the leads for the NDA at 130, 122. Remember, is the halfway mark, and leads are showing 130 for the NDA. So, I mean, if these leads hold, and that's the big question, right? Then you're through. But I think people will be careful, and we've seen this before. The famous example, of course, is 2015 when one news network called it early in the first 1.5 hours. And by then the results were announced, it was completely the other way. It went the other way.
Yeah.
So I think people, and it's obviously these are just,
And closer home, I mean, we're talking the 2024 verdict, remember? What a topsy-turvy roller coaster it was. You thought it was done at 8:30, and then you realize it's not, and then by the time...
The general election.
The general election result.
All the way till 2000, all the way till, 3 o'clock, 3:30, markets were closing, and I remember, I mean, this was right there. Okay, more coming up, but I think those leads will continue to update, and I think we will have the actual conversion to results coming through as well. More and more. But Mitesh Thakkar is with us and Shrikant Chauhan is with us as well with what they want you to do in terms of trades and how to do this. Any way to trade this, gentlemen? Morning. Or you'd wait for this, for those tallies, for that Bihar tally to actually turn into results and then take a call. Mitesh, what's the sense?
I think, Prashant, obviously any kind of news flow will have some impact on the market. So in that sense, I think, you can argue that caution may not be a bad idea. But overall, I think this is a market, which is upward trending for sure. And therefore, my belief is that it might be more useful to, use the opening gap down in case what the GIFT Nifty was indicating. Because with that gap down, we might open around 25,800 or 25,750 zone, which is where the first short-term support lies. And in case the trend as the numbers are showing on the screen continues positive, I think then I'll bet on a market recovery as well. That's the view just for the day.
Okay. Shrikant, morning. Your view for the Nifty?
Good morning, Survi. Good morning, Prashant and Nigel. So yes, what Mitesh is saying is absolutely right. I'm also of the same view that 25,750, 25,700 is going to act as major support for the market. And today, in case, because of any reason, if we see the market is closing below 25,700, then the chances of hitting 25,500 would turn bright. But if we see the overall entire pattern of the market, since the market has started its run-up, I'm of the view that the market is heading for the levels of 26,500. So today, in fact, it is opening lower. It will be an opportunity for traders to look for adding long positions with a stop loss at 25,700.
Okay, gentlemen, let's quickly get to the stock lists as well. Shrikant, what about you? What are the stocks on the radar?
So for the day specifically, I would like to go with the IT companies because there we saw some pause sort of activity in last 2 days. We saw some profit taking at higher levels, but while looking at their entire pattern of last, let's say, 2 weeks, I'm very much confident that this space is going to do well in the near term. Infosys looks attractive at current levels around 1540-45 with a target of 1600. We can keep a stop loss around 1500 for the same. And the other stock on which we are bullish is from the real estate basket, and that is Prestige. Currently, it is around 1725, 1730. There we have a target of 1830. And for the trading purpose, we can keep a stop loss around 1690 for the same.
Okay, all right. Thanks for that, Shrikant. Mitesh, come across to you. What's your pick for the day?
I have a mix of buys and sell, Nigel. I have a buy on KPI Technologies with a stop at 12.12, but try to buy it around 5-6 points lower, so say around 12.30, and a target of 12.65 to about 12.70. Also a buy on HDFC Life, again, mild pullbacks around 777, 778. Buy with a stop below 765 for a target of 800. And 2 sell calls. Hutco is a sell or negative short-term call with a stop at 230 or just above it, and target of 215 can be looked at. And Eternal has been declining, made a fresh swing low. So that could signal some continuation. So keep a stop at 302, look for targets of 290.
Okay, all right. Gentlemen, thanks very much, both of you. We'll speak again, Mitesh and Shrikant, for those trading ideas. Well, let's go across to the Bihar Assembly election counting, which is underway. Parikshit is with us with the key trends that he's picking up on the magic wall. Parikshit, over to you.
Well, the NDA had won the Bihar election in 2020 with 125 seats, and they are already ahead of that number as per early trends. Yes, NDA seems to be in the driver's seat with 129 seats where they are leading. India Alliance at just about 68. The Jan Suraj Party of Prashant Kishore at 3. Remember, pollsters were saying anything between 0 to 5 for Prashant Kishore, and they're managing early leads in about 3 seats. So for the NDA, currently there are gains in about 24 seats compared to last time, and the India Alliance losing in about 21 seats where they had gains and victories last time around. Now, let's just show you the difference in performance over here. If you look at the NDA, let me break down the numbers of the NDA. Here you see the BJP and JDU both performing well in this election. The BJP has early leads in about 58 seats, the JDU at 55, LJP of Chirag Paswan at 8, RLM of Upendra Kushwaha at 5, the Hums Party at 3. So all the alliance partners pulling their weight, doing well in this election. But Clearly, the BJP JDU combined is what pulling the NDA through, and the BJP at 58, the JDU at 55. And if this kind of a performance continues, it will only solidify the position of Nitish Kumar as Chief Minister. Earlier, initially, when the campaign for Bihar had begun, the BJP did not project a chief ministerial candidate for the NDA. But then Amit Shah cleared the air and said there is no vacancy for the chief minister's position in Bihar. So both the BJP and JDU performing well. Now let's look at the performance of the India Alliance, and you'll understand what's really going wrong. India Alliance at 68, and here all the heavy lifting is being done by the RJD, by Tejasvi Yadav's party. So they're winning in about 45 seats, but this is 30 lower than last time around. The Congress at 12, other parties at 72110. So clearly, are the other opposition partners, including the Congress, bringing down the India Alliance? That is a question that remains to be answered. But if you look at the NDA numbers, they're doing well all across the state among the women voters, in the rural vote bank, the urban vote bank as well. Also retaining their traditional strongholds as well. The NDA right now at 130. Will they do better than the 2020 election? That remains to be seen. However, JDU's prediction this morning is that their victory would be somewhere close to the 210 results, where the NDA had won 206 seats. So these are the early trends. Lots could change, but clearly for the moment, it seems NDA is in the pole position.
Oh, absolutely. For the timing, it's advantage. NDA, Parikshit, thank you very much for that. Let's discuss some of these early trends with Ninad Sheth, senior journalist and political analyst, who's with us now. Ninad, thank you so much for being with us. And, I want to start by asking you about what these trends, and it's 9 o'clock right now, what they really signify for Mr. Nitish Kumar. Because, look at, if we are to go by the trends, he seems to be building on, a lot of gains from the 2020 numbers as well. And if this is the way the final results turn out, then it seems that that high voter turnout in Bihar was, a lot of it perhaps was, a resounding approval of the way he's been running things. Your thoughts on what these trends right now indicate for Mr. Kumar?
I think it's a remarkable victory. We should bear in mind that the electoral rate in the last 2 or 3 election cycles has been an electoral rate of expectations. As India grows, there are expectations which are growing with India's economic growth. So in that context, I think it's remarkable that in one of the poorest parts of India, the promise of governance, the green shoots of industrialization, although they have been very, very small, have indeed come through quite well. It's also in many ways a vindication that despite leaks, the prohibition, of alcohol has worked politically in favor of the ruling alliance. For Nitish Kumar in particular, well, he has, proved once again that he's got a fight in him. There were a lot of speculations about his health, but he has nurtured, we should bear in mind, and this we saw in Andhra Pradesh also, that the women constituency in Indian politics is the new big thing. That if you have a direct connection with the women, it is working out, in the election results. So, overall, I would say personally that 3 things have happened. One, green shoots of industrialization, which was not at all discussed during the political discourse of the elections, have somehow worked. There has been, from this kind of result, it appears to me the first beginning of secularization of the Yadav vote. That some of the Yadav vote has voted perhaps both as for governance and for Hindu, as a Hindu sort of a vote. And finally, I would say that there is the Narendra Modi connection. There, we don't give it emphasis, but there is the Narendra Modi connection, which does.
No, absolutely. Absolutely, Ninad. And that was actually my follow-up question to you. And there'll be a lot of analysis. And if this indeed is the final tally, then a lot of analysis will go into what got the NDA these numbers. But that's exactly my question. That let's also remember that as early as just the budget, the February budget, a lot of schemes were announced for Bihar, the Makhana board, the IITs, the new greenfield airports for the state, right? So Bihar has been getting a lot of attention from the central government because it was an election-bound state this year. Now, with Mr. Nitish Kumar coming back with this kind of a majority, that's the final result, will it have a bearing on central politics, just the allocation of resources? I mean, does anything change at the center is my question.
I think things do change. Nitish Kumar has more leverage now to ask for more concessions. Nitish Kumar probably, he is known for building roads. That's how it all began. So it is not as if it's new. It's a little bit of history repeating, really. I think that we will see more allocation towards industrialization, something completely missing so far in Bihar. Perhaps allocation towards food processing, because Bihar, bear in mind, is really in animal husbandry, in fisheries, and so forth. So some agricultural relief. So this is a mandate to take the people's hopes forward economically. Many times we think of Bihar as a political mandate, but I think that just 10% people in formal employment. This is also a mandate for economic reforms. So I think there is a long runway now for Bihar to do what it should have done 20 years ago. Get its economic game together, just as Odisha, as I've been following on this channel and elsewhere, is already doing.
Yeah. Narendra, thanks very much for joining us, and I hope you will join us as we continue to track this, because this is rolling programming as we are getting the results in. But really good setup from you. Appreciate you joining us. We are hitting market open, and that's the reason why we are saying goodbye for now. Let's just look at maybe a bunch of stocks which have ended and where they've ended at the end of the pre-open session. Because look at Muthoot, maybe if you can pull the stock up. That is the big results reaction of the day, and I think 5-6% higher on Muthoot, 7.5% higher. Just look at that go. Hero MotoCorp we should just quickly pull up as well. We should look at LG Electronics. Hero's flattish. LG next. We should have GMR Airports, which will come up. Vishal Megamart will come up. LG is down 5%, and Vishal, etc., will come up as well. We've got the opening bell coming up. What do we have? First rates 25,778, about a 0.4% lower. The Nifty Bank is down about 0.5, 58,178. Sensex and the small and mid cap indices will come up on your screens as well. So this is the overall picture. So 1/3% down, 25,792 is the opening rates. Nifty 50 heat map will give you a quick sense of where things are landing, and then we will pick it up from there. Adani on one end, Tata Motors passenger vehicle business there as well, but bulk of it is all in the red. ONGC, Tata Steel, Eicher, etc. on the other end of the spectrum. But almost 40 stocks lower and about 10 stocks which are higher. But I suspect this will change, and you will see a bit of a swing up and down. From where we are starting. Surabhi.
Well, my screen is stuck, I think, on Bihar. So, Nigel, please fill us in.
Well, plenty of stocks moving around from the broader markets. It's the final day of earnings. Wowee. But let's address the stocks first. You have Muthoot Finance. On expected lines, they've gone ahead and increased their guidance, but the street loves it. They were waiting for this announcement. The management promised it's going to happen. And that stock is bursting away. It's up more than 7% as we speak. Grow continues to move higher. That's up close to around 6%. What a fantastic listing this one has had. It continues to move from strength to strength. Jubilant Food. I don't know where the Pizza Huts are coming out, but that stock, in fact, opens up with a gain of close to around 5%. So clearly the street likes those numbers. Bharat Dynamics moving, like a missile. That's up close to around 5%. So good move is what we're seeing out there. And KRBL as well, up close to around 4.5%. GMR Airports, I recall Vinny saying that those numbers are quite good. And Vishal Mega Marts as well, that number was quite good. So the street likes it. All those reacting favorably to the numbers. Now on the flip side, LG Electronics. Had a good amount of subscription, priced the issue very, very well. The stock ran away. The numbers are a little bit disappointing. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll get some clarifications from the management in just a wee bit from now. So that's going to be a stock on the radar. We also have Tilak Nagar Industries. Well, the growth was there, but maybe not as much as anticipated. Some of those price hikes, I think, may be due in the next quarter. But for the time being, the street doesn't like it. They're slamming the stock down close to around 7% as we speak. PG Electroplus, another management will get in the next 30-40 minutes or so. So that one as well is down close to around 3%. And Nalco coming in for some profit taking. So a lot of action on in the broader markets. The mid-cap index, to be fair, is more or less flattish. PG Electroplus, actually, the stock, I think, gapped down close to around 6%. Now it's given up all of those losses on the verge of moving to the green. Street is willing to look ahead.
And absolutely. And, this is some of the stuff which is coming through, right? Muthoot, maybe I just want to go back to it, right? That's the big winner, a continued winner. That's a breakout. I mean, it's, as I was saying earlier, I think for the last about 4 months or so, it's been flat, ranged. But that's almost a 4,000 rupee stock now, Muthoot Finance. Look at the volumes, almost getting to that million share mark coming through. Manishi Chaudhary is with us, Chief Executive Officer at Emmer Capital Partners. Manishi, good to have you with us here. Thanks for joining us. I want to start with this one. Muthoot, if you have any views, gold loans, What a takeoff it's been for Muthoot. 2024, it used to be 1,500 rupees, Manishi.
Well, I wouldn't have an opinion on a single stock, of course. But yes, in general, if you do have a situation where gold prices continue to move up despite the recent fluctuations, then obviously the volume of gold loans and the kind of interests that can be charged, they would also stay healthy. So, it's ultimately it's all a call on how gold would perform over the longer term. And on that question, I am actually convinced that despite the recent fluctuations, the recent wobbles that we have had, I think in the medium term, gold prices would stay healthy. Central banks continue to buy. It remains a relatively safe haven destination during times of geopolitical tensions, and all these reasons are not going away in a hurry.
That's as far as gold financiers are concerned. Manishi, hi, good morning. So we were, just before you joined us, we were looking at the numbers out of Bihar, and right now they seem to be going definitely in favor of the NDA, right? I'm not sure if it really changes the needle at all for the market, barring that there was a little bit of nervousness. So we had some profit taking yesterday, and maybe it gets the bulls get a bit of a fillip up if this is indeed the final result. But do you see any other bearing with respect to this result, either in policy making or just market sentiment? And market anyway is more focused right now on the trade deal and on earnings, I guess.
Right. So it's clearly an underscore as far as policy stability is concerned. It gives the ruling party at the center, the BJP and the NDA, some more wiggle room at this point of time. Remember that there were some important decisions that were actually not being made, or at least anecdotally, that's what we hear, before the Bihar elections, in terms of engaging with the United States and the kind of discussions that need to be had as far as agriculture and dairy are concerned. These are very sensitive political issues. And I think, both sides, India and the United States, India in particular, were not able to arrive at those decisions pending the Bihar election. So obviously, it opens up, avenues for, some of those important decisions to be finalized now. We must also remember that now we have an ambassador, an American ambassador in India, who has a direct line to President Trump. I mean, he's not only been the personal advisor over there, he has also been, very close to not just to President Trump, but to his entire family. So I think it's an important signal that the U.S. wants to re-engage. That engagement had fallen off, in the middle, but it's clearly on kind of getting mended, or at least that's the signal we are receiving.
All right. Hi, Manishi. We hope that Mr. Trump is on board as well, because thoughts can change on a dime, but nothing wrong in hoping, and hopefully we hear something